All right, all right. Once again, favorite time of the hour. It is time for another episode of the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast. Rich Casanova here in our global podcast studios here in Atlanta, Georgia. Hot Atlanta, as I don't know if they still say that anymore.
Yes,
might be kind of dated, do they? All right.
Yes.
Well, then we're going to own that. Yeah. All right. So, and of course, we have the guest of the hour here to my right. Well, not that they can't fact check that. It's a podcast. Yeah, you're actually on my left. But anyway, so Rich Casanova alongside Dewayne Hart. He is the author of the Cybersecurity Mindset. It's a book that's a valuable resource for the industry and for experts or people looking to pursue a career in the industry or research. And we're going to be referencing chapters within the book, which is a great resource for you. And so all throughout the show, as you're hearing this amazing content from a subject matter expert in his own right, you can just check out DewayneHart.com. That'll give you everything you need to know about the book, about his speaking opportunities, and also about the podcast itself and his YouTube channel, all that good stuff. So I'm going to turn things over to the man of the hour. Dewayne, we're going to be talking about, this is the third part in a series, talking about the cybersecurity mindset, but specifically drilling down today on connecting cybersecurity protection strategies. Go, dude, you're on.
Everyone, you know that I love to talk, but this episode is very special because we're going to be talking about those cybersecurity connectors. And those connectors are, how do you really take information inside of the cybersecurity mindset and transition that into your individual, social, technical, and business environments? Because when I wrote the cybersecurity mindset, over in the introduction, I made a ground statement that there are a lot of cybersecurity disconnectors. People have fears. So in the cybersecurity mindset, the core is to connect cybersecurity, but also to how do we protect systems? And that is exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, because you can come up with a plan, but it's not just implementing it, but the continuity of it.
Yes.
And circling back around to make sure that what you had in theory is going to translate into the application.
Yes. You know, one of the ways that I approach the cybersecurity mindset is to think back in my previous career in the military.
Back in the day.
Yes. When I was a leadership facilitator at CNL Mayport, for all the Navy personnel that are listening.
Shout out to Mayport.
That's right. Shout out to Mayport. One of the theories that I learned was KCAs, knowledge, comprehension, and application. So what that tells you is that once you have knowledge and once you comprehend that knowledge, then the next level is learning how to apply that knowledge. And this is one of the premises of the cybersecurity mindset, is to teach readers how to apply cybersecurity, but more so importantly, how does it fit into your life?
In the real world.
In the real world.
Right. Because, I mean, the book is an amazing resource, and that's a great launch pad, right? But once it's a question of like the follow through. What are you going to do with this information?
Yes. Yeah. What are you going to do with the information? Here goes something that's very important.
Okay.
I actually had a source that told me about a month ago. They used my book for a job interview.
Wow. Nice.
So, you know, the next question I asked the source was, did you get the job? Yes.
That's what I was going to ask. Nice. All right.
So I kind of dug down a little bit and tried to find out why and what did they get out of the book.
Yeah.
So what they told me was that the 20 chapters was a common sense approach to understanding cybersecurity, and they were able to frame cybersecurity and to build a picture.
Right.
But more so importantly, they understood how to protect systems.
Right.
Because that's the end state of cybersecurity.
Yeah,
really.
that's the end game, right? That's what that's your role. That's what it's the operative word is security. If you don't have that, it's just, you're just playing fun and games, whatever. Yeah.
Rich, you are wearing your hacker's hat today.
I got it on proudly, whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Always. So if you don't know what a hacker's hat is, you got to listen to other episodes. We're not going to even tell you. You have to go back and read the book or listen to episodes. But if you search any of his podcasts or on his site, it's It's a powerful mindset to have, the hacker's hat. So let's talk about the connectivity of this, right? And connecting the topics in the chapters within your book with the subject matter here today.
Okay, here goes the way I like to bring things together, because I could take every chapter out of the book and I could go through them all. But for this session, I chose three main chapters. Okay. One is chapter 6 on your environmental knowledge. You have to understand your environment.
Right.
If you understand your environment, then you can drive protection strategies.
Right.
If you work in the world of cybersecurity, everyone knows that there is a security architect. If you know that architect, well, guess what? You can drive protection.
Right.
If you don't know that architect, then see, that carries us back to blind spots.
Right. We talked about that in a previous episode in the series. Yeah.
Yes. Now, chapter 15, assessing risk management programs. You need to understand how to assess your program so you can know what your current state of cybersecurity readiness is at. Now, that takes us back to the previous podcast on your cybersecurity maturity process.
Right.
Because if you don't know the state of your enterprise, you are setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. You're up the creek.
Yeah, right. Because our job is to beat hackers to the finish line.
Right, yeah.
Now, the other piece or chapter 20, is having that adaptive mindset. After you put cybersecurity in place, there are going to be changes. There are going to be...
Yeah, you don't set it and forget it, and it's done, right?
No.
So you got to be able to react to changing environments, and also external and internal environment, right? Talk to us about that.
Well, when you have that adaptive mindset, and when you look at your internal environment, you are saying that management wants to make change, and cybersecurity is pretty much going to change because we're bringing on some new applications.
Yeah.
And some
you've onboarded new employees. You've also expanded your business reach. You've added more tech stack to your business environment.
Yes, and you do that. So what you have to do is to have that adaptive mindset. One of the other programs on the internal space, or like the internal organizations, is also looking at change management, right?
Right.
Change is always here. And your configuration management programs.
Yeah.
Now, externally, we are talking about your vulnerabilities, your threats, and the hackers out there. Because you have to profile your organization and to know what technologies that you have, but also, too, what are those type of exploits that could hamper your technologies? Right. What are the type of ways that people could counter your defenses?
Right.
And see, those are the things that organizations have to know, because you have to have that threat intel.
Yep.
And also, too, you have to know the state of these new software programs.
Right.
Because there are white papers that are written on these programs where it tells you the risk of those programs. So, before you decide to bring a new application on board, you would have to know the weaknesses of those programs, what type of risks do those programs bring, and you have to balance that against your enterprise and different type of threats and vulnerabilities so that you'll know what you're up against and that you can defend your enterprise.
Right. I mean, I would align it to like continuing education. So a lot of professions, CPAs, if you're in the tax business, or teachers. My brother's a chiropractor, so they go to these conferences as you do in your industry, and you have to stay abreast of what's currently trending and happening, right? So, I mean, I use sports analogies a lot, but back to the football analogy, you can't be playing 1970s football in 2023. You're not going to be able to compete against the other team. Because
cybersecurity is always in a changing state.
It's always evolving.
It's always evolving.
Right.
So what you have to do is that you have to have that mindset where you state, okay, we need to modernize.
Yeah.
We need to modernize because artificial intelligence is sitting at the bus stop.
Right.
And now it's coming down the street. So we need to prepare for that as well. But see, part of that protection strategies is to make sure that you have the cybersecurity shield in place, and making sure that readiness take place,
Right.
because you have to assess your programs,
Right.
making sure that you understand your environment. It's where situational awareness comes to surface. And also, too, practice proper risk management, because you have to extend your risk management program past compliance, because all compliance is going to do is give you a benchmark and
Right.
say that you passed. But guess what? You scored a 90% on your assessment
Right.
evaluation for your enterprise. But now there's another 10% factor that you have to consider.
And you're hoping the hacker didn't score 100%, right? Because that math doesn't add up. That's not going to work in your favor. It's going to catch up to you real quick.
We cannot feed the hacker's appetite.
Yeah, right.
Because a hacker's menu,
right,
is quite different from a normal menu.
Yeah.
Because that appetizer states, I need access to 20,000 accounts.
Right.
Then you keep going on down to the main course. Oh, yes. Well, I want to destroy 20 million customers' account.
Right.
But then here comes the dessert.
Yeah.
Guess what? I just put some ransomware on your system.
Dang. So I want to circle back to A&I here in just a second, but first, talk to us about operating cybersecurity with when a negative event surfaces.
Yes. Negative events are those things that could impede operations.
Okay.
If you are in a cybersecurity state, there are some things such as vulnerabilities. If they are exploited, they could cause your operation to cease. They could disrupt and damage services. So when that happens, you do not have protection, because the whole premises of the cybersecurity mindset is to go and make sure that you increase protection and to lower risk. So when you have the negative events that occur, your overall mission is to go and to make sure that you can still maintain protection. But you can do that because Chapter 6 is that you understand your environment.
Right.
And Chapter 15, you have done your homework and access your risk management program. And Chapter 20, you have that adaptive mindset, so that when those negative events occur in that changing environment, you can be resilient.
Right.
And you can operate.
And you have a game plan for that.
Yes.
Right. Contingencies. You have to have those in place.
And a contingency
right?
plan.
Now, talk to us about, we talked about a minute ago about, ever-changing environment internally when you adapt or adopt new software, new programs, and so forth. But there's also the flip side to that is if you fail to modernize, right?
Yeah, yes. If you decide to keep your system in an old stale state, right? Where you have these legacy applications and these legacy systems.
Because some people have excuse me for interrupting you, but some people have that mindset: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
You know what? Exactly. One of the things that I discussed in the book, because I was at a meeting and I had a gentleman state, hey, if I have not been hacked, then I can assume I'm safe.
Right.
And I almost dropped my coffee. I said,
right.
I told him, I said that if you had a bad part in your car, I said, you can drive down the road, but eventually it's going to break down on you.
Right.
It's the same concept for cybersecurity.
Yeah.
But see, what needs to happen is that individual has to understand how those connectors operate. When you understand the connectors, you can say that I have not been hacked.
Right.
But guess what? I still need to access my programs, which is talking about Chapter 15 here.
Right.
But also, too, I need to modernize my system so that this does not happen again, which is Chapter 17 of the Cybersecurity Mindset.
Okay.
Because all of this that I'm talking about goes into the conceptual model for the Cybersecurity Mindset, too.
Right.
Because, my sister's going to get at me for this. But she told me once, she said that you did not include the conceptual model inside of your book, because when I had wrote
She's
the book.
She's calling you out on that, yeah.
Yes. Because when I had wrote the book,
right,
I was just so happy about writing the book, and then I published it. Then I said, you know what? I need a conceptual model. And then a couple months after it, I designed this conceptual model. And if the readers go to my website where the book is located, you can go download a copy of the
It's like an addendum.
Conceptual model.
Yeah.
So you can see how cybersecurity is connected.
Right. So when you were talking about, failure to update your software or your programs or what have you, it's much, or you said like the guy says, well, I haven't been hacked yet, so I'm okay. I mean, it's kind of like driving down the road with no tread on your tire whatsoever. It hasn't gone flat yet, so I'm okay, right? Well, stay tuned. I'll see you at the next exit when you're hitching a ride. Okay, so we're going to take just a quick PSA here, and then we're going to come back and talk about AI because I know that's on permeates throughout this conversation. But again, you're listening to the Cybersecurity Mindset podcast here. The chief of cybersecurity is in the studio, in the building here, Rich Casanova alongside Mr. Dewayne Hart. And so for all these topics and points we're talking about, you can reference his book, his podcast, his speaking opportunities, the YouTube channel, all that, everything you need to know is right there at DewayneHart.com.
You can also reach out to me for cybersecurity consulting services.
Okay, nice. So you get to talk to the man, the guru, and talking about a wealth of knowledge, not only of all of his media platforms, but the years of experience running his own company. So you're like the Dos Equis man of cybersecurity, right? So, all right, so let's now pivot to a next segment here. Let's talk about AI and the implications. This is cutting edge technology. Again, we talked about earlier, if you're not staying on top of the trends. And so where does AI come into the picture here?
Well, AI comes into the picture because when you look at the way that we modernize our environment, we are trying to improve cybersecurity. So when we improve cybersecurity, so we have things like AI that is going to help us out because AI has a dual relationship into cybersecurity. One is that AI platforms depend on cybersecurity itself because you want to make sure that those platforms are safe. The other relationship is that cybersecurity itself needs AI for like some rapid data analysis because as you get these different threats that are ever growing in this enterprise, the human eye can only see so much. Yeah. And, the human eye can only process so much. So what AI does is kind of speed up the process so that we can have more actionable data, so that the data can be more accurate. Now, it's not there to take our jobs as cybersecurity professional. It just serves as a source so that we can get the final results and we can make a quick decision versus trying to go through the different logs and all the other
it's more
different
efficient,
programs.
right?
Yes, it's more efficient.
Right.
So what it does is that it reduces the time that it would take to actually analyze data. Okay. And I want to put it in very simple context for people because there are some people that do not understand AI. So I just want to make it very simple so that when they hear this podcast, they can say, oh, so you don't need to spend a lot of time trying to analyze data. So you got AI platforms to do that for you, which is very important for cybersecurity.
I mean, that's why we have, the evolution of technology from computers to the internet. It's just a much more efficient way. Now, I'm not sure if I should explain what AI is. I imagine most people understand that's artificial intelligence we're talking about, right? And that's the operative words, right? So it's artificial, so it's not human intelligence, but that blend of those two, you can do some amazing things, right? And again, the hackers are using AI, so again, you got to at least be one step ahead of those guys, right? So let's pivot. I know. Did you want to talk about the these two acronyms here? The importance of CMMI and CMMC.
Those are very important topics to discuss. But for this podcast, I really want you to just give a brief overview of what they are. When we look at CMMI, right? That is a process improvement strategy
Okay.
that you can use so that you can optimize your services. So if you are involved with the cybersecurity workspace and let's say you're trying to drive protection, well, guess what? If you're constantly having risks develop all the time and you spend so much time and resources just trying to improve the process, then maybe it's those processes that you use. Maybe it's your approach. Maybe you have the use of too many spreadsheets. Maybe you have the wrong software program. Maybe you have too many meetings. Maybe you don't have your documentation up to date.
Right.
All right. So you need to improve the process. When you look at CMMC, which is a certification from the government, it's just making sure that you have your security controls in place. Now when you look at CMMC, you have a set of controls that has to be in place. Let's just say, for instance, if it's about auditing, right? So if you have a system, and if you are doing business with the government, then you need to make sure that system capture audit logs.
Right. It syncs up with their plan, right? So you're talking the same language.
Because the government has sensitive information.
Right.
Now the original program that was used was called DFARS, right? But now the government is transitioning to CMMC, and all government contracting companies in the next couple of years has to had at least be certified in this CMMC.
And compliant in that.
That's right.
Okay. Back up for a second to the CMMI. So I would associate that in business. The term we use in business is standard operating procedures, right? SOPs. So does that translate to what a CMMI is for cybersecurity?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
but also like having that game plan, that blueprint in place, but also having those checks and balances in place so you can identify the weak areas and address those proactively.
Yes,
right?
Because when you do that, that's when you drive protection.
Yeah.
Now, looking at CMMI, looking at CMMC, and also taking a look at the cybersecurity mindset and focusing on certain terms like holistic defense and having 360 degree of cyber visibility.
Right.
So what that's telling us is that as you go through these different models like CMMI and CMMC, they're going to, number one, improve your overall readiness and give you a structure so that you can ensure that cybersecurity stays in place. And the second level is that when you abide by the government standards and making sure that all those controls are compliant, then you can have 360 degree of cyber visibility because you can reduce your blind spots.
Right.
Because you cannot have a safe environment in cybersecurity with an enormous amount of blind spots.
Yeah.
Now, blind spots are saying that there's some areas in your enterprise that you haven't monitored, that you don't know about,
right?
That you just haven't even tried to remediate,
right?
So when we think about the connectors, then we are merely taking all of those protection strategies and making sure that they align up to 360 degree of cyber visibility, holistic defense, and using models like CMMI and CMMC to drive that defense up. And so when you drive your defense up, that's when you increase your protection and you lower your risk stake.
Right. So at the end of the day, you're creating this holistic approach.
Yes.
Right, to everything, right? So all encompassing. So not one trigger point or one area is going to give you that firewall, for lack of a better, layman's terms, give you that firewall between you and the hackers. It's You have to have that holistic approach. It goes back to like having the theory, but actually translate that to the application. At the end of the day, it really talks to this whole encompassing topic of protection strategies, and there's multiple layers to this, right?
It is multiple layers. There's a term we use called the defense in depth.
Okay.
Concept is being used now. That means that that you ensure that you have your security services at like different levels, right? Let's say, for instance, it's in your email service.
Right.
So you're making sure that you have cybersecurity in place,
Right.
your network security,
Yeah.
your software programs. Okay. So you kind of have to have a defense in depth concept. But I also want to state as well, too, is that there's a term I use in the cybersecurity mindset called the cybersecurity DNA.
Okay.
So if you think of a DNA molecule, right?
Right.
So it has all these different strands, right? And the strands are part of its genetic makeup. So if you destroy one of the strands, then you destroy the DNA molecule.
Right.
Now, let's transition that over to cybersecurity, because cybersecurity has a lot of moving parts, which is called its connectors.
Right.
Right. So if you destroy one of those connectors, such as you have privacy and
Right.
you have risk management, because those two are connected together, because if you break privacy, then, well, you break risk. All right. So they're connected together. If it's any problem, well, like those two are broken apart from each other, you have just destroyed your cybersecurity DNA. All right.
And that's what the hackers are looking for, that weakest link.
Yes,
right?
yes. They're looking for
An opening. Where's there a crack in your protection strategy?
It's called a soft target. It's
Okay.
like you can be a soft target.
Right.
One of the other terms is that they look for certain type of attack vectors. Let's say, for instance, it could be a misconfiguration of a software program.
Okay.
Okay, those are considered your gateways.
Right. Right.
All right. So I need to find a gateway. Now, when you take all of your attack vectors and let's say when you combine them together, it actually makes up your attack surface. All right.
And AI implemented correctly can help identify those.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That humans might miss out.
Yes. Yes.
Yes or yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. And I'm gonna keep saying yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great application of AI.
Yes.
Right?
It actually has its worth, but to drive protection, it still needs to be tuned properly.
Right.
Because AI
has limitations at this point. Yeah. This juncture.
AI is nothing more than robotic software.
Right.
All right. Now, what you put into AI
Yep.
and your data sets
Right.
is pretty much what you get out.
Yep.
So what AI needs to have is human intelligence
Right.
and those data sets to be accurate, because it has to be tuned up. And AI platforms are put in a learning mode too, so it can understand the system and the different states, and also to, the different traffics, hackers, and all the different type of tactics they use. It takes all the information, analyze it, and it gives us a picture.
All right. And we're going to wind things down here. So this has been an amazing 3-part series. I don't know if you have anything to add as we close out on this topic. Look forward to our next episode. We're going to be doing a deep dive into some recent articles, speaking of AI. But summary real quick, and then we'll sign off for this 3-part series. Some of your takeaways or observations or insight for our listeners. And again, check out this and more at DewayneHart.com. Dewayne, I'm going to let you close things out.
Well, all I have to tell you is that I designed this 3-part series to help my readers and also some of the other personnel on LinkedIn and social media to engage into the cybersecurity mindset, but also to find out how you can use the cybersecurity mindset. Because once you master the cybersecurity mindset, that's when you can understand the different threats, hackers, and how to drive safety. Now, driving safety in this world of technology also goes into your personal life and thinking about ways to make sure that no one has your credit card, also too looking at your cell phones. But if you're on a business level, you have customers and your customers depend on you. So if you can master the cybersecurity mindset, you can satisfy your customers. But ultimately, when you walk into the boardroom, that's when you can throw that sales pitch. Exactly what the cybersecurity mindset was designed for.